Welcome back to another episode of the NJ1ST podcast. My name is Ryan McDonald. You can follow me on all social medias at Ryan McDonald USA, also at NJ1ST, and subscribe to my Sunday Substack, ryanmcdonald.substack.com. Right here, I'm pictured at a seat at the table, New Jersey, the event that we just had this weekend. New Jersey State Senator Ed Durr, the upset underdog in 2021, is going for re-election again. Legislative District 4 down in conservative South New Jersey. Ed Durr is holding the mantle in New Jersey, sponsoring those two bills, three bills now, one for the moratorium for the wind turbines, the offshore wind farms that are happening, killing all those whales and dolphins, the explosions happening at the bottom of the ocean. And the second bill, the 12-week heartbeat bill, banning abortions after 12 weeks, protecting life in New Jersey. And the third bill, four bills let's go with, the concealed carry bill and the repeal of the extreme risk protection order, red flag gun law. Edward Durr, our hero in the Senate for New Jersey as a Republican. And this was at a seat at the table in New Jersey. Like I said, I was also able to get a picture with Josh Akins, who up here in North New Jersey, conservative Northwest New Jersey specifically. Josh Akins is running in the Legislative District 24, and we'll go into his debate that they just had, Josh Akins and Jason Sarnowski versus Mike Ignagnamort and Dawn Fantasia, which is over here, and we'll catch that at the end of this NJ1ST podcast episode. I want to go into the information that I received at a seat at the table New Jersey event that I attended. No left turn in education in New Jersey. This was a flyer that reminded us of the Parental Rights Freedom Rally, May 15th, that I previously had on the NJ1ST podcast. Barbara Ames, the Morris County Patriot, with the organization, it'll say in this one over here, I believe it's Working Together for NJ is her organization. This one looks like a different one, sponsored by NLTE, Connects, New Jersey event, May Day, Parental Rights and Freedom Rally. So a bunch of people are involved. For more information to this one, contact Paul Lund, NJ Chapter Director for No Left Turn in Education. I think it has potential to be big. Again, it'll be Monday, May 15th, 2023, 10:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the State House Annex in Trenton. There's the address, 125 West State Street. It'll be there to support parental rights against the radical left indoctrination of children and grooming. Let's keep it short there and move on to this one. It was the second flyer that was handed out at a seat at the table New Jersey event. Do you trust our election process? So again, Working Together for New Jersey regarding election integrity. They have a website right there, and you can call to volunteer. Barbara Ames, again, on top of it, we have grassroots patriots that if anybody who is running for office is watching this, or anybody affiliated with a campaign watching this, contact these people like myself, are doing this volunteer out of their time and are more than happy to help. It's just our work is not accepted always by the establishment. And likewise, I mentioned before in an episode that the offshore wind farms, that protest down in Trenton, I believe at the beginning of this month, was accompanied with legislators of the Republican Party in New Jersey. Ed Durr had a moratorium bill sponsored. So hopefully they get I believe there is no, I don't think there is a bill against the transgender LGBT curriculum. I believe it's actually reversed. The Democrats have a bill in support of it all. So what needs to happen is a Republican has to step up and join this rally on May 15th. But this flyer is regarding the election process and specifically for Mercer County. So if you don't know what happened in Mercer County last year of November 2022, there's a link that I'll put in the description of this or in the comments of this YouTube video. We Are New Jersey, Citizen Journalism. I believe I mentioned this before. I was made aware of this article by Barbara Holstein, the New Jersey Patriot. And it has the whole debacle that happened with Mercer County and the voting machines, glitches, and the whole voting machines were down for the whole entire day. So right here it says Mercer County summary: election machines failed to function all day on election day. This was swept under the rug. Let's see some statistics. Let me read this. For the November 2022 general election, Mercer County certified the number of ballots received and reported different numbers to the state voter history. So 4,800 differences in election day ballots were received. Material differences observed in all township by largest percentage differences observed in Hightstown and Pennington. So they had poll watchers, and this is the observances. That's a lot of them. 2,500 differences in mail-in ballots received. So mail-in ballots having errors, most likely. 2,500. 99% of differences observed in 3 townships. So Robbinsville, Trenton, and West Windsor. 99%. That's whoa. 740 differences in provisional ballots received. Oof. Now, what I want to, and what I was pointed out to on this flyer, is the counties that have been the least cooperative in responding to requests for data in regarding our election integrity and the outcomes of our election, the votes, what is fraudulent, what isn't, updated voter rolls, all that. Atlantic County, Cape May, Hunterdon, Ocean, Somerset, Sussex, and Warren. Predominantly Republican counties. Very, very interesting. And that's what I was pointed out at the A Seat at the Table event in New Jersey. And to wrap it up, that's what we learned about. That's what I want to bring to you from that event, other than some other information I'll probably mention throughout this video. But let's move on to some more recent news. The House rejects Gates' pitch to withdraw all U.S. forces from Somalia. That's in the Horn of Africa on the west side of Africa. And this is similar to the resolution, the Congress House resolution to withdraw forces from Syria that just happened in the beginning of this month. And all New Jersey Congress members voted yes, except one, Frank Pallone. He voted no. And we'll find out which New Jersey Congress members voted which way for Somalia. But first, I want to point out that in 2019, I did document in my NJ1ST ebook that the National Guard from New Jersey was going to Somalia, the Horn of Africa. And it was my opinion that there's no reason that the New Jersey National Guard, let alone the U.S. State's National Guard, any U.S. State National Guard, to be overseas right now, especially in the Horn of Africa, because New Jersey's 113th National Guard Infantry has been deployed there. And I go on to talk about Africa's recent history with militants and conflicts. It's pretty crazy over there in Nigeria, but the Horn of Africa specifically is pretty interesting. I'm not ignorant to the geography and the politics of there and the conflicts, but all of this in the name of Western democracy. I say that the same globalists continue to break bread for the last couple of decades with maleficent leaders in Africa, embezzle international disaster relief funds all over the Middle East, and even arm and train revolution paramilitaries. It's all in that region over there. It all has to do with a lot of Islamist jihadis too. It is my contention that these global endeavors hold hostage us Western nations, and those Eastern nations cannot really be policed into peace. It's upon themselves to find their own way of government. It's not Western democracy, obviously, after the Arab Springs. Hindsight, because this was written in 2019, so hindsight in 2020, the American riots, I would like to point out that Steve Lonegan, the guy who tried to enter the Legislative District 24 Republican primary up here in Northwest New Jersey, the one that's so contentious, here's the debate that we'll go into at the end of this video. He said that he disagreed with Donald Trump, insinuating that the military should be used to protect our Americans in our homeland. He thought that it would change America forever, and it's my opinion that America's already changed forever. It changed just within 10 years, and that's how fast it changes. And 2019, Somalia, New Jersey National Guard. So and I find out in 2022. So just last year, there was a New Jersey cavalry defeats Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, if I remember correctly, means the youth in Arabic. It's Islamist jihadist group in Africa, but there is the Arab sentiment to it. And it turns out that there was an attack. It's a pretty huge, I guess, mortar crater, right? But I haven't read this article. I actually will read it. But for sake of brevity, I'll just leave the link in the description. But our soldiers should not be in harm's way over there for another nation. That nation should protect themselves. 2019, our state's National Guard was sent over there. 2022 is when an attack happened. They're in harm's way. It should not be that way. They should be over here helping us. We're in harm's way over here in America in many different ways. So to go into the policy of it, this is the congressional resolution, House Congress Resolution 30 that Matt Gaetz, I suppose, sponsored. And it is very short, and that is how you know it is very honorable. I believe the founding fathers, I don't know if it was Jefferson, Madison, or Franklin, but they warned against voluminous, I can't ever say that word, but voluminous, having a lot of volume. Legislation that has pages and pages, just like Rand Paul shows us. This is short and right to the point. Whenever you see legislation like this, it's usually good or bad, but good on the more end legislation. So this says resolved by, it's just to withdraw forces from Somalia by no later than 365 days from this adoption of the resolution. That's the resolution. How did our New Jersey Republicans and Democrats vote? So the roll call shows that 102 yays, which was basically, actually this is not really along party lines, I don't think. It's really down the middle on party lines. So 102 yays, 321 noes, and it did not pass. But specifically for New Jersey, everybody again, just like Syria, voted no, except Frank Pallone, again, voted yes, and it looks like somebody got the message finally. Jeff Van Drew joined and voted yes as well. We should take out our troops from Somalia out of harm's way. It should not be that way. Bonnie Watson Coleman not voting. Yeah, I'm not even sure if she was there. So that is the news for Somalia, the Horn of Africa. If you want to learn about Somalia, go to YouTube. There's a lot of content there of people going over there. It's pretty shocking, to say the least. Finishing up this episode of the NJ1ST podcast, I will provide a little bit of commentary for the debate of the Republican primary for Legislative District 24 up here in Northwest New Jersey. I mentioned it before. Jason Sarnowski and Josh Akins versus Don Fantasia and Mike Agnagnamort. We'll hear what the true conservatives have to say up here in Northwest New Jersey. Please subscribe to this podcast, this YouTube channel. Follow me on all social medias at Ryan McDonald USA and at NJ1ST. Let's give this a listen.
Thank you, David, and thank you, candidates, for joining us. Mr. Akins, Governor Murphy's radical sex ed standards that were recently implemented have stirred passions and debate in all 21 counties. What role, if any, do you believe public schools have in teaching children about topics, including sexual orientation? And if public schools do have a role in this arena, what is the appropriate age to introduce these concepts?
Thank you, Matt. That question is actually quite appropriate, since I had two of the people that I'm helping down in Roxbury Township on Fox Tonight. They're being sued for questioning the books that are being published in their library. What has happened, they have taken sex ed and they have completely bastardized what was meant originally. Learning about sex ed and learning about hygiene and the human body was meant for the grades and the ages where that was actually happening. What is going on now is they've pushed that down so low that what they're going to do is they're going to fundamentally change the youth of America and fundamentally change the youth of these states. So what we're looking for, what we have been looking for, what I've been talking to parents across this entire state, is they want each school to make their own choices. They don't want this stuff to be forced upon their own districts in areas and sections of this state where it's not important, where it's not an issue. I mean, I have two very young boys right now, and I'll tell you right now, this is not even something that's on their mind. I know you're a father as well, Matt, as is Mike. We have young children, and this is not something that they need to be learning at this moment. High school, this is a conversation where schools can be teaching sex ed, but what is happening now is it's not even just sex ed, right? Some of these books and some of the topics and discussions that are being pushed have nothing to do with literacy, have nothing to do with health. It has everything to do with an agenda which will completely reshape the American public.
Thank you. Mayor Ganamort.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be with you all tonight. Phil Murphy's extreme sex ed curriculum is totally inappropriate. We have jumped the shark if we can shoehorn this salacious material into our classrooms because we think we argue that it has some shred of educational value. Putting students and teachers in a funny position, it's totally inappropriate. We're taking conversations away from the kitchen table and away from the parents. We're having these conversations outside the eye of the parents. Here's what I would allow. Reproduction in the context of human biology. Anything above and beyond that is politics. It does not belong in the classroom. Stop it with the genders. Stop conveying the message that gender is optional or a choice to be made in a classroom of all places, and stop it with mixing boys and girls in sports.
Thank you. My first question is going to be for Commissioner Fantasia. Mr. Akins will respond to it. All four candidates in this race are pro-life, but as you all well know, there's varying degrees to limits. In Florida, Governor DeSantis has signed a 6-week abortion ban. Senator Ed Durr has a bill that sets New Jersey's ban at 12 weeks. Congressman Chris Smith has proposed a federal ban at 15 weeks. Congressman Kane last year said he would ban abortion at 20 weeks. And my question to you is where are you on that span of 0 to the end of a pregnancy?
Thank you for the question. Well, I believe that life begins at conception. I've been endorsed by New Jersey Right to Life before. What I can say is what New Jersey has is one of the most egregious Wild West approaches to abortion. On October 8th, 2020, the Reproductive Freedom Act was signed by Governor Murphy. And as a commissioner on the Sussex County Commissioner Board, we immediately fired off a resolution in opposition to it. Not only does it stay along the same lines prior, where parental notification is not necessary, it pushed it, it doubled down. So now girls can have abortions by medical providers who are not even licensed physicians. We are actually offering free abortions to those who travel here from out of state. So New Jersey's in a sad spot. We could not even get across the line the Pain Capable Act that was the 20-week ban. So what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is doing at 6 weeks is logical to me. It's at the point of heartbeat. And I think we would have a better chance moving the needle that way. I personally do believe, though, that life does begin at conception.
Thank you. Mr. Akins?
Yeah, I too believe that life begins conception without any exceptions outside of that. My running mate right here has been endorsed for the New Jersey Right to Life as recent as 2022. So, we are very conservative in that regard. I do believe that because of the state of New Jersey, with the Democrats having a stronghold in both the Senate and the Assembly, if we can move the needle back, it is certainly the step in the right direction. However, it's not all the way there, because it's infanticide, in my opinion. And what Governor Murphy has done is completely egregious. It's against the Constitution. It is against every belief that we have as a Judeo-Christian society. And right now, we can't continue along this path. So, anything that we can do to move the needle backwards would be a step in the right direction. But I too believe that, life begins at conception, and there's no exception to that. And, it would have been nice, though, to know that, our commissioners in this county, our commissioners in every other county did more than just resolutions. There was protests everywhere. I didn't see a lot of them out there, and I wish that we saw a lot more protests happening.
Thank you.
Those were great answers and responses by these 4 pro-life candidates. And I'm stressing this because New Jersey Republicans do not speak this way. I repeat, they do not speak this way. The Republican voters might be thinking about pro-life and life beginning at conception or a heartbeat bill. But again, not a single Republican senator has got on Ed Durr's heartbeat bill of 12 weeks. And David Wildstein, being a suck-up felon that he is for his role with the Chris Christie and Bridgegate, says that Tom Kean Jr. supports the 20-week abortion ban. Tom Kean Jr. as well gets up on podiums and tells everyone he's pro-choice and supports women's rights to choose. So it's good to know that maybe Tom Kean Jr. flip-flops sometimes towards pro-life and not always 100% towards pro-choice because, the New Jersey Republican Party is pro-choice. Bob Hugin, Tom Kean Jr. with his voting record and his support vocally, and also Legislative District 3 David Richter in 2020. The candidates that they choose, the people that they choose are pro-choice, not pro-life Republicans.
Commissioner, a recent analysis determined that 1 in 3 New Jersey roads are in poor condition. That was the second worst rating in the United States, behind only Rhode Island. This concerning news comes a full 7 years after a bipartisan compromise that dramatically increased New Jersey's gas tax with the purported goal of fixing our roads and our bridges. Do you believe that this Christie-era compromise holds up in the benefit of hindsight? And do you believe that any additional action is necessary at this juncture to address the state's ongoing infrastructure woes?
Okay, so thank you. I'm going to take this time, since we're on this topic, to just reiterate for the audience that I was a councilwoman in Franklin Borough in 2016. I did not actually get to vote on this issue. The TTF was bankrupt as a result of politicians kicking that can down the road year after year. And the cost to taxpayers was a projected $500 property tax increase on the average homeowner. And the Democrats proposed 50 cents a gallon of gas for our gas tax additional on top of the price of a gallon. So if you're asking me about Senator Orho's tax restructuring plan and Chris Christie's approval of that reduced that to 23 cents a gallon with no impact on property taxes. And we were able to collect some funds from out-of-state drivers. We provided tax relief to senior citizens, to veterans, to the working poor, phased out the estate tax. But more importantly, when you say that road study, I read the same road study that was just released, and rural roads, surprisingly, have moved up the list, not where we want it, but the rural roads up in District 24 have moved up the list in improvement. So Sussex County alone has received $30.4 million from that, and our municipalities $23 million. In this upcoming year, every year Warren County receives anywhere between $4 and $5 million, and in this budget cycle, they're proposed to receive $4.1 million. So, again, do I think that the Transportation Trust Fund was a benefit to the property owner? Yeah, absolutely. I do want to mention something.
We're going over a little bit, but
Thank you.
Pardon me?
Just give me extra time, Dave. I'll let her speak. Give me extra time.
So am I continuing?
How about for 15 more seconds? How's that?
Okay. So what I want to say is that, we do have some politicians like Mr. Sarnosky, who was a huge advocate of the gas tax, said they kept Warren County taxes under what they were supposed to be. There was going to be a 5% increase. There wasn't because of it. Pats himself on the back for a reduction of property tax, yet is not exactly truthful about the revenue and where it came from. And it came from the gas tax, which he fully supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sarnowski, your response.
Matt, thank you very much for this question. Finally, we're getting to the meat of what makes this team different from the Anganamore Fantasia team. I totally oppose the former gas tax. It was a complete failure. We know that. Roads got worse and our taxes got higher. We went from the 9th worst roads in the state to the worst or the 2nd worst roads. And we went from one of the lowest gas taxes in the country to the highest gas taxes. The problem is we spend too much per mile of road. We spend $1.2 million per mile of state road versus New York or California with, these big states who spend 900,000, 750 because of waste, fraud, and abuse that we allow into the system. And rather than cutting spending and looking at that waste, fraud, and abuse, we just want to keep feeding the beast, keep feeding the gas tax union, the A25. And Dawn says, oh, I was only a councilwoman. Yeah, but she did a radio ad advocating the gas tax. If she was just a councilwoman, why even bother? You didn't have a stake in that. So she did a radio ad, she did a robocall advocating the gas tax. And I'm glad to finally hear Dawn admit she likes the gas tax and she's going to like next year's reauthorization of the gas tax, which is going to be bigger and badder. And let's face it, the gas tax is taxation without representation. Why? Because the gas tax doesn't need a vote by the legislature to go up. It could go up without any representative voting for it. That is just bad news. And what are we looking at in the future when we don't have gas? Because of electric vehicles, black boxes in our cars, the track we go, so that they know mile by mile how many miles we travel in New Jersey. Now, it's not going to happen for out-of-state cars because how are you going to do that? But in-state, that's what's going to happen.
Rebuttal, please.
I'm sorry?
30 seconds, please. Rebuttal.
Yeah, that's what we said. You could have 30 seconds since it involved you, and then we'll go back to Mr. Sarnowski.
Okay. Well, Mr. Sarnowski, you can't have it both ways. You wanted to run with Senator Orho, even endorsed him. And if that was the case, would we be calling you gas tax Jason right now? Because I guarantee your mouth would be shut. You've had your hand out to these unions. All you have to do is check your ELEC reports, and you have been a supporter of different unions. You have asked them for their support. You've taken money in the past. So all these antics, it's all histrionics and it's nonsense. You supported it. And I suppose you'd be happy if Warren County wrote back that $4.1 million to the state of New Jersey, and you can give back your veterans deductions, and you can give back the deductions for senior citizens. And by the way, stop lying in your commercial that I support the black boxes. As a matter of fact, last night at our commissioner meeting, I introduced paired legislation that's going to pair with Parker Space's legislation that actually opposes black box and tracking of drivers in the state of New Jersey. Get your facts right before you go on the radio, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sarnowski, I'll give you the last word. You have 30 seconds. Please don't go any more than 45.
Thank you, Dawn. Or thank you, Dave. So Dawn's completely wrong here. Just because I didn't fight, Steve Orho who was our Senate minority leader at or Senate leader at the time, because I was, because we used that tax as it was meant to be used. It was used to reduce taxes for the taxpayers. And you know what? Even if we didn't have it, I would have found another way to reduce taxes, because that's what I do in Warren County. Dawn's talking about, everyone wanting to run with Senator Orho. Of course, we all wanted to be assembly people. If we were going to run with the incumbent senator, I think we all would have run, and it wouldn't have been about the gas tax necessarily. But you know what? We have to show the difference between our opponents. Dawn Fantasia is advocating for the gas tax. There has been no quid pro quo with me and unions. That's ridiculous. And I'd like her to show me where that exists.
The gall and nerve of Dawn Fantasia to endorse and double down on the gas tax of Senator Arrojo, that 50 cents is too much, but 23 cents, the math works out, because taxation isn't terrible if the math works out. That was a pitiful excuse by Dawn Fantasia. And to say that all the Republicans supported Arrojo, yes, I agree. And that they should be calling Jason gas tax Jason, just like Dawn. Dawn, you did the ad for Chris Christie. You did the ad for Arrojo. You guys are entrenched with the Republicans. That's why anybody that's watching this, you have to choose at least Josh Akins. He is the grassroots, non-establishment candidate. All of these three candidates are establishment.
Federal politics is going to inevitably impact our 2023 elections. So with that in mind, are you prepared to support Donald Trump's comeback bid, or do you believe it's time to consider a new Republican standard bearer?
Federal government. Okay, so I will support former President Trump and his reelection bid. I am liking some of the new candidates that I'm hearing. I think he has inspired a lot of new Republican leaders throughout, not just in the federal level, but throughout New Jersey itself. And because of that, we're hearing a lot more conservative values being espoused in public forum. And And so for that, I support him in this effort.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fantasia.
Thank you. I thought that Donald Trump actually was the best president that we've had in modern times when it came to policy, specifically foreign policy. I did support him in 2016 and 2020. I would be open to supporting him again, but there are other candidates in the field who are strong and emerging. So I'll be interested to see how it develops. But the top two frontrunners, I would be very happy with either of them if they were the nominee. I can say it's refreshing to hear Josh Akins say that he is sticking with Team R as a Republican. We do know that in 2008, he did vote for Barack Obama, which was a little bit disheartening to find out from, from a candidate who I thought was somewhat more on the conservative side. But election integrity is going to be an important one this time. We also do know that, while we have situations where sometimes you're registered in two states. For instance, Mr. Akins was a registered Democrat in Pennsylvania for over 10 years while he was a registered Republican here in New Jersey. So, I do take a little pause to that. I think we really need to take a look at our election integrity, clean those voter rolls. I'd be a little remiss to send somebody to the state assembly who wants to clean that up, who actually was part of the problem for over a decade.
I guess I'm going to address this, Matt.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I was 24 that year. It's a weird thing is I had my first Bud Light that year. So as to this accusation that I was a registered Democrat in Pennsylvania for 10 years, I never lived in Pennsylvania. So I don't know what to tell you about that one. So the difference between myself and Commissioner Fantasia is I may have made a mistake one time. However, I'm not trying to push Barack Obama type of policies throughout the state of New Jersey.
What do you believe, if any, are the Second Amendment's limits? For example, are there certain weapons or certain locations that you believe are inappropriate for civilians?
So I believe in the right to keep and bear arms. I believe that you're allowed to have any kind of weapon that you can legally or that you can afford. Quite frankly, I think the restrictions on our Second Amendment rights in this state are ridiculous. And we see that the criminals are the ones that are getting the firearms, not the good people. They have trouble getting the firearms. They have trouble protecting themselves. So I am fully a Second Amendment supporter, and I am fully support our right to carry concealed firearms as well. I have helped residents of Warren County not only get their concealed carry permits, but when the whole debacle was going on with the judges and the prosecutors and trying to get those applications pushed through, I helped push those through those applications. Then they went to the police departments, so I helped when they had applications that had restrictions on them and they weren't able to carry them over. I'm helping people get those restrictions lifted on their concealed carry. I think New Jersey is insane with the amount of restrictions we put on our Second Amendment rights, and I would be a full supporter of all Second Amendment rights, and I'm sure I'd get a 100% score from the NRA as an assembly person.
Commissioner Fantasia.
Thank you for the question. As a lifetime NRA member endorsed by the Second Amendment Society and a victim of a gun crime, I believe that the New Jersey laws masquerade under the guise of gun safety, and they fly in the face of that. We have things like the red flag laws that no longer align with probable cause, and now it's just good cause to seize guns. There's an insane magazine capacity ban that does nothing but make people feel good. There's discriminatory fees now that Murphy year after year tried to hammer through. I talked about it in 2019 and people weren't listening, and bam, he actually got it through. New Jersey has three primary gun laws, right? So we have unlawful purpose and use, unlawful possession by carrying a handgun without a permit, and community gun. And what's happening is we have prosecutors who are consistently pleading down these gun charges to unlawful use. And you have community guns being passed around and used in commissions of crimes and in gang-related situations. So the short answer is no restrictions. I'm a big, big supporter of constitutional carry. And if I was elected to the assembly, my first bill would be to force prosecutors to prosecute community gun, and they would not be permitted to plead down these gun charges when they're used in crimes and in gang activity. I think it's outrageous. Murphy has done nothing to actually protect our residents. He exploits legal gun owners. It's ludicrous.
You're not going to find a difference here, Matt.
Dawn Fantasia was one of the original Sussex County freeholders that gave me the fiery spirit inside of me, the fiery American spirit to go to my Warren County freeholders, Jason Sarnowski, and bring to him two resolutions. One being the anti-sanctuary state resolution that he did not do, and Dawn did. But also the Second Amendment resolution, which he did do, and Dawn as well did. And as well, Dawn went all up and down the state of New Jersey supporting Republicans, supporting the Second Amendment constitutionally. However, she mentioned the red flag gun laws, and she is not one of those Republicans that calls out other Republicans for voting a bad way. So there's plenty of Republicans that voted for red flag gun laws, but she's not going to call them out. She's not going to say that their vote was bad. She's not going to call them out by name. And Josh Akins will. If you ask me, vote Josh Akins and Dawn Fantasia. Make them both work together, and it'll end up being the best duo in Trenton. Trust me.